After making sure that our NISA scanner is working, we can add any number of NISA scanners here. If you have segments, all you want to do is to configure a zone. Let's go and understand what's a zone. Scan zone. Here's the default scan zone. It holds all the IP addresses. As you can see, this scan zone means that any IP address will use the scanner that assigned to this scan zone. So the scanner is our default scanner. So let's assume that we have segments. Now let's assume that we have this topology in our production. So we will create 5 NISA scanners. Each scanner will be responsible to scan its zone. So the scan will be not launched from any other zone or segment for another segment. Let's go and do it. So we will do here this is the default one. I will name it first zone. I'll copy it and let's assume the following ranges, that we have 10.10.1.0/24. This is our data center, and submit. No scanner available. I will create the second. I will name it local, or let's name it DMZ01, and let's assume it's 192.168.2.0, and the subnet. Yes, great. Let's create our third zone. This one is local, or let's name it users, and our user is using 10.10.3.0/24. And let me add another zone, the fourth one. I will name it branch 01, and the range will be 10.10.4.0/24, and submit. Yes, we created 4 zones. Let's dismiss this one. It might be a DR, or let me create it. The fifth will be the DR, and our DR using the range 10.10.5.0. This is the network segment or zone that we have in those locations. So I have 5 zones. Let me add here data center and submit DMZ and users, branch and DR. Yes, done. We have all 5 zones. So let's now create the scanners. The first one will be our data center. And we need to add the real IP address for the scanner, and let's assume it's 1.201. You need to add the password and username. I'm adding a dummy data, then you will select it from here and submit. As you can see here, the DC scanner or data center scanner, here is the host. This is responsible for scanning the subnet related to the zone data center. So if any active scan came from the user telling us or telling the security center to scan 10.10.1.5, let's assume, what Tenable scanner will do? He will go to the first scanner. He will check the zone. This is related to the first zone. This IP address related to the first zone. So the responsible scanner is DC scanner. It will go to here and check the DC scanner if it's working or not. If it's working, it will go and scan that asset from the DC scanner. Then this scanner will upload the result back to Tenable Security Center. If this scanner is not working, it will go to this scanner. What if this scanner is not located on the same zone and there's a firewall between this scanner and the asset that we want to scan, and there is no rules allowing the scan, then it will be blocked. So make sure to create scan zones correctly, NIST scanners correctly. Now let's talk about NIST network monitoring. You can add the NIST network monitoring here. The default port for NIST network monitoring is 8835. For now, we don't have anything to talk about the NIST network monitoring. So let's go. Also, we have the LDAP server configuration. As I told you in the quick setup wizard, you can configure all the settings from the dashboard here, from the portal here. If you don't want to go with the quick setup, if you need to add a LDAP server to create security center users depending on the LDAP service, you can do it from here. Also, you can add the log correlation engine configuration here and the clients and the policies for log correlation engine. All of them can be set up from the resources tab here. Let's go to repository. As we talked, we created the first repository depending on type IP version 4. If you want to add another one, you will find here IP version 4, IP version 6, mobile, and agent. And we have the external and offline. So those repositories will help us to configure the share permissions, the data retentions, and the user access for them. For most organizations, we are stuck with the IP version 4 and the agent repository. Accepted risk rules. These rules to accept the vulnerabilities. It's not clear here. It will be clear after doing a vulnerability scan and start accepting or recasting the risk rules. The organization, here's our organization, here's the information about it. So here's the information, here's the scanning, here's the repository. So if we need to create another organization with permissions to access another repository, we can do it. Users, you can create users from here. I will show you here. You can see the admin. You are seeing where's the other user. If you click the filter here, and check the organization, as you can see here, it's related to the first organization. So by creating users groups, we are defining the permissions. If you need to add rules, here's the rules. We have already defined rules: the administrator, auditor, credential manager, executives, no rule, security analyst, security manager, and vulnerability analyst. I need to show you a great tip to understand everything in Tenable. Every time you need to know more about any topics or any topic from here, you just go to admin user, help. It will open the manual or the user manual, admin manual. Here is the Security Center User Guide PDF, and you can find here the rules permissions. It's magic. Okay, great. We have the users rules. You can start defining the users and testing them. The last tab we will talk about it is the scanning. The system, we talked about it. You have all the configuration here, the data expiration or retention policy, we have the schedule, the mail, miscellaneous, licensing, security, plugin feeds. All of this configuration can be done from the system tab. Then the last one will be the scanning. In the scanning, we have the policies, audit files, and the credentials. You can add any policy that you want. I will talk about them once we log in to another portal, to the Security Manager portal, but you can define the policies here, and those policies can be shared with the users or all of the users, and you can define credentials, audit files, and share them with all the users. This is the Tenable Security Center configuration and portal. The next lessons will be about using the Tenable Security Center. It's a cool one. It's how to manage the NIST scanner from Tenable Security Center. So let's go to our admin portal and log in using the admin to the Security Center. You can go here to System, Configuration, Security, and go down to Picture in Picture and Submit. Before enabling it, let me show you what the effect will be. So if we go to Resources, NIST Scanners, here's our scanner. If you check here, nothing here appear, edit, delete, nothing. If you do a right click, all you have view, download logs, edit, and delete. Let's go back to System, Configuration, Security, and enable the scanners picture in picture feature, and go back to Resources, NIST Scanner. Let's check this one. As you can see here, we have the Manage System button or feature enabled. So if we click manage system, boom, you will have access to your scanner service portal. From here you can do scan folders, check the policies, check plugins rules, settings, change any settings you want, check the plugins update, and so on. It's a cool one and nice to enable it and use it in your Tenable Security Center instead of logging to the service directly. Also, I want to talk with you about the plugin feeds. If you can go to the admin portal, system configuration, then come here to plugin feeds. In this tab, you can check. Here's the list for the plugins. We are using the default one. There is Chinese and Japanese lists. And here is the schedules for Tenable feeds download. You can update them manually. You can update them automatically by connecting to the internet directly. And here you can find the information about the last updates schedule. If you go here to the arrow and press it, you will find here that here's the schedule. You can change it to any other time you want by clicking the edit or the pencil here. And here's the information. If you are willing or if you don't have the internet connectivity or air-gapped network, you can upload the feeds here to the Tenable admin portal. If you want to do a manual feeds upload, there's steps provided by Tenable. You can go to Tenable documents and I think here's it. Yes, as you can see here in the documentation, you can search on perform an offline Tenable Security Center feed update. Here is the steps and how to do that. You need the challenge code. You need to do some run some commands to get the feeds package. Then you can upload them to your Tenable Security Center. Another thing, it's good to know it's the diagnostics. Here in the diagnostics, you can have the system status. You need as a health check or let's say to make sure everything is working correctly against best practices. You will check the correct version of Java, if you have a sufficient disk space, the RPM packages, debugging, PHP file integrity errors. If all of these have green check, then all things is right and working well. From down you can generate diagnostic file. Sometimes the support asks you for diagnostics file, and you can also enable the debugging. And I hope you will not need to get these things for the support, but as I told you, to check if your system is running well, it's good to check the diagnostics. We have the system logs also. It's great to check the system logs. As you can see here, I have successful logins, invalid, and so on. It's a good thing to know. If you click the plus sign here, you'll have more information about those logs. So I have an error. I was trying to log in by user 1 and there was a password error. And here, if you have errors, you can check those logs, and of course you can filter them from the filter section here by date, keywords, model, organization, and the severity if you want. So I filter them on the critical severity, and here is all the information. Let's clear it. Apply. Let's check for keyword user 1. Apply, and here is all the logs related to user 1. We have admin, apply, and so on. You can check the system logs. It's good to know where you can find logs to trace any issues. And type sudo -s to get root privileges. Now we can go to cd opt security center. This is the directory for Tenable Security Center. As you can see here, all the folders and configuration files, databases, all of the data is here in this directory. So if you want to take a backup, you need to type service security center status, then stop the security center service. Let me go back. So here's the status. As you can see here, it's running. I will stop it. Now you need to make sure no running process, so you will type -f -tns. If there is any process, you need to kill all -u-tns. As you can see here, no other process, and you can kill all httpd. It's for the service or web service process. Now type tar -p zcf cs underscore backup dot tar dot g z over opt So right now it's taking a backup from your directory, full directory. It needs time to be completed, so wait until it's complete and make sure the session is not closing. Now the tar finished successfully. To make sure that the file is not corrupted, so we can use this command It's examining the files in the compressed file. And the file is good and there is no corruption in the file. So right now, if you issue the following command pwd, you are in the op directory, type ls-l, you have the backup file here for Tenable Security Center, all data, it's here. It says like, I think so, it's 123, it's 4 gig, like it's around 5 giga. So you need to use any FTP or SFTP client and copy the file to another location. That's very important. Don't keep the file on the server, copy it to another location. I will remove it. To save space. For the restore, it's the same as the backup. You need to install and prepare Tenable Security Center server. It will be empty or initial configuration. So you need then to go to your new Tenable Security Center, stop the service, make sure no running process. Then you need to uncompress the tar file. First you need to copy the file to that server, then uncompress the file. Now let's talk about backup, the configuration. To do a backup configuration, you need to stop the Tenable Security Center service, run this command. It's using a script in the Tenable Security Center, then start the service. Let's try to first check the status for Tenable Security Center. It's stopped, so we need to use this directory, support pen and php. This is the directory with the configuration backup steps there. Then opt, minus l slash, that is opt. I don't want to save it on the temp, so here's the command. Starting up, attempting to change the application user, backing up the configuration. There is a permission denied. Let me try temp. It's done. Let's go to temp directory, and here is the configuration file. We can copy it, or we need to copy it outside this server. Now let's start our security center service. The restore for the configuration is the same, service security center state stop. Then you need to follow this link. You need to issue the same. Here you need to know that there is a space after the PHP. Then use the restore configuration.php minus L and the directory for the configuration. Then start the service. Now we need to go to the remote storage backup way. In this way, you need to log in to your Tenable Security Center using the port 8000. It's an easy way and good way to use the remote storage to take automatic backup from Tenable Security Center. So it's easy. You need two servers, or you need another server only. You need a security center configuration to configure the security center to send the backup to a CentOS server. You can build this CentOS server in your DR, in any environment you want as a backup server. So let's go to our security center. We need to type those two commands. The first one to create a SSH keys, then copy the public SSH keys to the CentOS 8 server. Then we will test our connectivity by this command. Then we will configure the remote storage from the port 8000. So I will type SSH key generate. It asks me where do you want to save the keys. Keep the default, empty for no phrases, and done. So if we go to root.ssh ls, we will have those two keys. Now let me copy the public key as a root at the IP address for the other server. Do you want to continue? Yes. The password for the other server to copy. It's added. Now to test that, type SSH root at the IP address for the second server. It's 211. Yes, it's a remote storage. As you can see here, I don't have anything on the opt. It's another server. So cd root here's a test for the remote storage. Let me remove it. Nothing here, as you can see. If I type exit, the session will be closed and I am back to Tenable Security Center again. You need to go to Tenable configuration using the port 8000 to remote storage. You need to add the remote host IP address, the path where you want to save the backup, and here, as you can see here in the root.ssh directory, you need to type cat id rsa. Here's the key that you want to copy. put it here in this box, save the configuration. You need to see a green check here that demonstrates configuration is saved. Now every time you click save configuration, you will have a green check here. To make sure that this configuration working properly, you need to go to your remote storage server and go to your directory, the root one in our case, type ls. You will have Tenable core sync tests. Every time you press save, you will have this file here. You can remove it if you want, but I like to keep it for the records. So let's go right now to backup and restore. This tab for the backup and restore. We can configure the automatic backup from this section here. If the automatic backup is not running, you can click here. It will take you to the services Tenable core.automated backup.timer. You can run and stop, restart the service. Automatic startup, it must be enabled. Then go back to your backup. Here, as you can see, you can edit the timer for it. So you can edit this one, and default it will be like this. It will run every day at 2:34 a.m. every day. So if you want to make it weekly, you can type any day you want as the instructions here. If you press save, it will run every Wednesday at 2:33 a.m. If you want to make it monthly, let's say 5, it will run on Monday, because it's the 5th of September, at 2:35. And sorry, this is the day of the month. If I change it to 9, it will be on Friday. And so on. Okay, so you can configure it. I recommend to make it weekly or whatever you want. Okay, I'll keep it on Wednesday, and you can find out here the logs for all the backup and restore. It's empty here for me because I have a problem in my browser, nothing else. So here in this section, you can create a manual backup. So let's take a configuration backup right now. Go to your remote storage and wait. Yes, here's the configuration backup. And here is its size. It's 28 meg. If you want to take a full backup from the system for the first time, take a backup right now. It will be around 5 gig for the initial backup. As you can see here, backup sync completed. And here's all the logs information. I hope you enjoyed this lesson about the backup and restore for Tenable Security Center. Hello everyone, and welcome to this new lesson from Tenable Security Center course. We will start talking about vulnerabilities and vulnerability management in Tenable Security Center. We talked in our previous lessons about the installation architecture and configuration. So please, if you have any questions, don't hesitate to contact me through the messages. And for now, let's start talking about the vulnerabilities and the scans in Tenable Security Center. We have two types of scans in Tenable Security Center. We have the discovery scan and the assessment scan. Discovery scan means it's searching for live hosts in your network. Assessment scan, it's search on vulnerabilities on these hosts. Discovery scan do not include in the licensing or do not count against your license, but in the assessment scan it will start counting in your license. For the assessment scan, we can do authenticated and unauthenticated scan. If you want to use the credentials to scan some hosts, it will be authenticated. Authenticated scan will help you to find the vulnerabilities quicker, and it will not do any load on the host itself. In the unauthenticated, you have network connectivity to the hosts. Let's say you are seeing the host as an attacker, and you are trying to find the vulnerabilities to exploit them. That's what the attackers do, but Tenable Security Center will not exploit them. It will report the vulnerabilities to you. Now let's go to our Tenable Security Center management portal. This is the administrator portal, not the security manager. Here's the overview for Tenable. Here's the licensing status. Here's the repository statistics, the status for the jobs, scanners, and so on. In the users, I already create a security manager. I show you how to get the users. It's user 1. User 1 manager, security manager. Okay, let me log out. I will add my password. I hope it's correct. Yes, it's correct. Okay, here's the default page for the security manager. You will find the dashboards. Let me show you the tabs here. Here's the default page for the user. It's the dashboards. We have the dashboard and assured reports. I will talk about them later. We have the solution tab. It will preview or list all the solutions must be applied for your hosts. We have the analysis. This is the most important tab for me. You will have the vulnerabilities or the reported vulnerabilities here. You have queries, events, and mobile. Those are events from LCE and mobile vulnerabilities. And if you have any saved queries, it will be here. But as I told you, the vulnerabilities page is the most important because it will show us all the vulnerabilities in the system. Here we can find the scans. We have active scans, scan results. We will talk about them. Here's the reports. Here is it. We have all the reports here. We can generate reports and export them from the system. We have the assets. Assets is a group of hosts gathered by some variables. We have the workflow. The workflow is a small ticketing system. And we have the users tab. As a security manager, we can create users and groups. So let's start talking about the scans tab. Now, to start the scanning, first you need to create a policy. Policy, it means the scan information or plugins that will be used to scan the hosts. So first we go to scans, policies, or from here policies, we press the add button and we have the policy templates here. Here's the policy templates. We have the advanced agent scan, it's for the agents. We have the advanced scan. In the scan template, you can configure all the settings manually. And here we have one of the important scans is the basic network scan. It's scan the hosts from the network side, let's say. We have the credentials patch audit. We can scan our hosts to know the missing updates. We need to add credentials here. And in the basic network scan, if you need to get more details and more vulnerabilities, you can add the authentication also here. We have also a web application test. This is a scan for the web vulnerabilities. If you have any published services in your organization, you can test them by doing a web application test. Those are the common scan policies. If we can go here, we have the compliance configuration. We can check our system against the configuration. We have the policy compliance auditing. We have the PCI, internal PCI network scan, and so on. Those are the compliance configuration. And here's the other scans. From this one, the most, or the one that we will talk about, is the host discovery. We have another important scans like the log4shell. We have log4shell vulnerability ecosystem, remote checks. We have the WannaCry ransomware. Those are templates scan your host or your organization host for specific vulnerabilities. First thing, I will show you what's the meaning of policy template. Let's go to the advanced scan. As I told you, this is the scan that you can configure all the parameters manually. So you can name it here, anything you want. I will not save it, but I need to show you the, let's say, the meaning for the policies or the policy templates. Here you have the general setting about safe checks and so on, performance options. We have the host discovery, how it will host the or discover the host by doing a ping by the ARP TCP connection, and so on. All these parameters you can read about them in the documentation. We have the port scanning if you want to scan a range, or you can keep it the default. You can add the port range that you want to scan. Here's the local port enumeration, service discovery, assessment. All of these can be configured and you can enjoy doing a custom scan. But for now, I need to show you what the meaning of plugins. Here is the plugins. Plugins are the code or the script that Tenable wrote to discover the vulnerabilities. As you can see here, we have families for the plugins. So here is AIX, here is Amazon, here is backdoors, brute force attacks, and so on. We can disable all of them. And let's say we need a Cisco template. So we press the Cisco and enable shown. So this is a Cisco template. It will be used only to scan Cisco devices. Why I did this advanced scan? It's better for the performance and the time duration that the scan will take, because if I enable a database plugins and try to scan a Cisco or router or switch, it will start testing those vulnerabilities on a router, and the router of course don't have database. So it's better to do advanced scan for performance, to get better performance and to get accurate results. We talked about the advanced scan and how we can customize the plugins and the parameters here. You can add Hydra, enable the Hydra, and add login file and password file for users and passwords. We can check for malware scan, SCADA, web applications, Windows. You can create any template that you want or any policy that you want from the advanced scan. And it have a lot of parameters. Maybe I will talk about them later after finishing the course. So right now, the first thing to do once you have enabled and configured your Tenable Security Center is to go to host discovery scan. So the first thing is to create host discovery scan policy. This one will be used to discover the IP addresses for the host that we have in our network, the live targets or the live hosts. So if you can create the name, then description. Here in the discovery you have the host enumeration, and here's the general settings in the host enumeration. It will test the local NISS host and add the IP address for them. Fast network discovery, it will use the TCP and ARP and ICMP to retrieve. For my recommendation, I use every time the OS identification. Then we have the report. If you want, you can enable anything from this output. Here, the first one, it will show you the DNS name instead of the IP addresses. If you want, you can enable that. Here, it will display the host that respond to ping only. Display unreachable host. If you can enable it. And the Unicode character. If you go to advanced, this one is good to know about it. If you have any problem in your network and cannot handle a lot of traffic, you can start tuning the scan from this tab. So from the performance options, you can enable slow down the scan when network congestion is detected. You can define the network timeout, simulation check per host, and so on. As I told you, if you want to know more about this information, just press the help here and it will show you. Let me close the old one, press the help, and it will take you to the section that you are in, and you can start reading about any information. Okay, we have the Unix find commands options here. I will not edit or change anything here. I'll keep it on the default and I'll press submit. So congratulations, you have the first scan policy created in your Tenable Security Center. Let's go and use this policy in a scan. So right now we will go to active scan. We will add, here is the active scan, or you can directly go and press it from this tab. Let me explain something here. In the policies, we did not add any network or targets to be scanned. So in the policy, we create the parameters for our scan. Policy, it It means create the parameters like plugins, anything else that we saw in the policy templates. So right now we need to go and configure some scan over our hosts. So we'll go to active scans, we'll press add, we will name it my network. I'm not adding space. Discovery. Let me name it shorter. Add any description you want. Now, here is the policy that we will use. If we are trying to do a network discovery, we will use the policy that we create for the network discovery. So, here's our parameters for the scan. Here's the schedule. Do you want this scan to be on demand, to run on demand, or you want to schedule it? If you want it to be a schedule, you can do it right now. Let's say you can create it to be run now, can be run once, and here is the date and time, weekly scans, and so on. Guys, you can go and check all of them. I will keep it on demand because I need to use it more than one time. So let's go right now to the settings here. The scan zone, it will be automatic distribution. As you can see here, you need to choose the repository that will save the vulnerability data into it. We have only one repository, so it will be selected by default. What do you want if the timeout trigger or the scan timeout done? So it will import completed result and create rollover scan, or do you want import completed results only or discard results? I don't like to import anything missing. In the advanced, you want to scan virtual hosts, track hosts when have been issued new IP addresses and names. I prefer to keep this enabled. Immediately remove vulnerabilities from scanned hosts that do not reply. If you have any hosts or vulnerabilities related to hosts and in the second scan they do not found them, you will remove them. And max scan duration by hours, you can define it or keep it unlimited. This tab is very important. What's the target type? As you can see here, they use the assets as a default, but for us, since we are start using the Tenable Security Center, we don't have asset lists, so we'll go to use the IP DNS names. Then we can use a mixed. Here you can, as you can see in the assets, here's the hosts that have antivirus. Here's the Apple computers, here's the bad credentials computers, and so on. I will show you the assets later and what's the meaning of those lists. So for now, we will add IP addresses. Let me add my network. I will add, if you want to add all the network, you can select like this one. Or you can add a range. I will add a range. Let me add from 100 to 200. So you can add IPs or DNS names. Then we'll go to the credential if you want to add the credential. But as I told you, this is a host discovery. And what do you want to do after the scan finish? You can create reports and so on. For now, no need. I will submit the scan. It was successfully created. The active scan is done, but we did not run it yet. So now choose or check this box and you can run diagnostic scan or launch the scan. And you can edit, copy or delete the scan. So we will launch the scan. It was launched. So we will go to scan results. Until now we use 3 tabs. The policies to create our scan parameters in the policy. Then we create active scan. In the active scan we define the targets, the time for the scan, and the repository that we will save the scan result in it. Right now we go to scan result. As you can see here, it's duration unknown, scanned IP is 0, you need to wait, but I have an error. I'm sure that was because of my Nessus scanner. It's not working. Let me check it and get back.